I quite often hear from readers of my column who are having problems with pension providers. And so I thought it was worth looking this week at two things. First of all, who you can complain to if you're not getting any joy. And second, what kind of compensation you can expect to receive. So this week it was a reader who had a pension product with one company. They wanted it moved to another insurance company and they said, don't transfer till the final premium's been paid in, then move it across. But unfortunately, the first pension company moved the money straight away, so they didn't wait for that final payment to come in. And then when the reader chased things up, he couldn't get any joy with getting that final money paid across, or indeed with then getting some interest on the money he was losing out on whilst that money was sitting doing nothing. So the financial services company he was dealing with said making a complaint, but when he made a complaint, they said, oh, well, we're a bit snowed under, so we don't know when we'll get to it, which is obviously very unsatisfactory. So they said he could go to an ombudsman. And there are two main ombudsmen that may be relevant. The first is FOS, the Financial Ombudsman Service, and the second is TPO, the Pensions Ombudsman. TPO, the Pensions Ombudsman, deals mainly with occupational pensions, trust-based pensions, public sector pensions, that kind of thing. The FOS, the Financial Ombudsman Service, tends to deal more with things like personal pensions, financial products. There isn't a neat dividing line between the two, so it's best to go on the relevant websites and answer the questions, and they help you decide whether they can look at your complaint. And then the second question is, well, how much will you get? What you get is in two parts. First of all, you should get compensation redress for your actual loss, to put you back in the position you would have been if they hadn't messed up. So in this case, the reader should get his pension money moved across that was missing, and he should get the investment growth that he's missed out on because of the delay, and finally we were able to achieve that. You also often get a payment for what's called distress and inconvenience. These are token payments, really, to reflect the fact you've had a lot of hassle, a lot of phone calls, a lot of stress, a lot of waiting around. In this case, the reader was offered £200, which he accepted. It can be a lot more if you're very seriously distressed or inconvenienced, but there is a sliding scale. Obviously, in this case, the reader finally contacted me when they couldn't get anywhere through the company and when the Ombudsman's recommendations were being ignored. But it would be far better if actually companies responded better to complaints, and also if the Ombudsman didn't have such long waiting times, because I think the Pensions Ombudsman in particular needs to be better resourced, with a waiting time of getting on for a year for looking at substantive complaints. So the key points here are, there are ombudsmen out there, use their websites to decide the right one to go to, and expect, if you're successful, to be put back in the position you would have been in had things not gone wrong, perhaps with some token payment for distress and inconvenience on top.